There's a reason why people say that getting started is the hardest part. And it's not because you're lazy, it's because nobody taught you how to do it well. In this video, I'm gonna give you 4 tools that help make getting started feel less like a battle and more like a habit. If you master these 4 things, you'll save more time and energy, you'll be more productive, you'll achieve more of your goals, and most importantly, you'll build a level of trust within yourself that will change everything for you. Let's dive in. A quick reframe as we dive in. Getting started is a skill, it is not a feeling. And just like any skill, it can be trained. Most people treat it as a feeling. They wait for that moment that feels right. They wait till they feel motivated. They wait for that right feeling. But if you're like me, you've probably realized that feelings are unreliable. Instead, we need to rely on systems. And these 4 tools will help you build those systems. These are the things that I've learned as I've mastered the art of getting started. The first tool is practice being okay with inconvenience. Most people contract when something presents itself as a challenge. The moment there's friction, whether it's a confusing first step, a moment of discomfort, or something that requires a little bit more energy that you're expecting, you immediately pull back, you contract. But here's what's happening when you actually do that. You're training yourself to stop at the very beginning. And then you're wiring your brain to associate pain with starting things. And that's exactly what you don't want to do. The fix here isn't to eliminate the pain, it's to practice going through it. Every single time that you fight through that resistance, even if it's slightly, even if it's imperfectly, you're training yourself to get through that resistance. You're sending a signal to your brain that getting through discomfort is survivable and eventually it'll feel normal. There's one thing I think that's worth naming here, and that is to be wary of tools like AI. I think many of us are getting more used to using AI in times of discomfort or in times when we need to accomplish certain tasks or figure out certain problems. And AI can be incredibly useful for situations like that. But be careful that you don't outsource your problems and your challenges to AI every single time. Because basically what you're doing is you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to train for this muscle, for this skill. Use the tools, but don't let the tools make you soft. The goal is to become someone that doesn't flinch and contract and run away whenever they encounter a problem at the beginning of something. The version of you that doesn't flinch gets more done, gets further along, is more effective, and just achieves more. The second tool, which is my personal favorite, is don't negotiate with yourself. How many times have you talked yourself out of doing something you said you were going to do? You told yourself you're going to go to the gym. Next thing you know, 6 p.m. rolls around and you have 17 legitimate reasons why you shouldn't go to the gym. Here's the truth. If you give yourself the chance to negotiate, you will almost always convince yourself not to do what you set out to do. The solution is simple, but it's not easy. You need to remove negotiation entirely. Don't ask yourself how you feel about it. Don't revisit the decision. The version of you that made the decision in the first place knew what they were doing. The version of you that's not questioning it is not a reliable narrator. Just decide once and don't decide multiple times. Here's why this matters beyond just getting things done. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're sending a message to yourself that you can trust yourself, that you can rely on your word, that you're a person that follows through. Every time you break a promise to yourself, doesn't even matter if it's really small, you're sending a message that you can't rely on yourself, that your word isn't as good as it seems, that your word is negotiable. Over time, both of those messages compound. The first one compounds into deep self-trust. You are a person that follows through. The second one compounds into someone who can't be trusted, someone who doesn't follow through on their word, and someone who's really not connected to who they truly are inside, and someone who has this chronic lack of confidence in themselves and in their word. Which one of those are you building in yourself right now? The third tool to help you master the art of getting started is to start smaller than you think you need to. This one goes against our culture of productivity, but it's one of the most powerful ones that you can utilize as you get started with new habits. When most people get started with a new habit, they go big, they go hard. I'm gonna go to the gym every single day. I'm gonna write for 1 hour every single day. I'm going to run a marathon in 3 months. And then they fall off and they don't end up doing the thing that they wanted to do for very long. Here's the reframe that you need to hear. The goal in the beginning is not the task. The goal is the identity that it requires to complete the task. Let me break that one down. With regards to the working out example, you're not trying to get fit in 1 week. You're just trying to be a person that shows up to the gym every time they say they're going to. And showing up doesn't mean it needs to be 1 hour at the gym 5 times a week. Showing up could be 5 minutes 4 times a week. The goal is to start so small that it actually feels ridiculous. So whatever habit that you're trying to implement into your life, start small. And if it feels embarrassing because it's too small, that's exactly where you get started. James Clear mentions an individual in his book Atomic Habits that was trying to work on his habit of going to the gym. And he started out by going to the gym for 5 minutes every single day. He would go, pretty much do a couple reps, and then go home. And that felt absolutely ridiculous to him. But don't get distracted by the fact that obviously nobody will accomplish anything in 5 minutes a few times per week. The point is that this person was practicing showing up and was building off of that. And it wasn't until this person developed that muscle, that skill of showing up, that then the path was paved for him to actually increase the amount of time that he would show up. The key here is that you need to work on sticking the habit first before you can develop or enhance it. Starting small will compound into big results, but starting big usually compounds into nothing. Ask yourself, what does one small thing look like in regards to this habit? And just start there. The fourth and final tool to help you master the art of getting started is to make the habit easy. Friction is the enemy of getting started, and most people create way more friction than they need to when getting started, and then they blame themselves for lacking motivation. But let me tell you right now, here's another positive reframe. The issue isn't you or your motivation. The issue is a design problem. The way you're designing your habits is simply not effective for you to nail the habits. The easier you make it to begin, the more likely it is that you're going to do the action. It's as simple as that. No need to make it complicated here. So here's a few practical ways that can make the habit easy. First is to prepare in advance. Set your running clothes out the night before so that you can wake up and immediately put them on. Put that book that you've been delaying reading open on your table so that as soon as you come downstairs, you can just start reading. Put your journal next to your bed so that you just start writing. Whatever barrier there is that's preventing you from just getting started with any of these habits, get rid of them and just make it as easy as possible. Another way, leave yourself a breadcrumb. So let's imagine that you're working and you're going to have to continue your work tomorrow. Rather than showing up to the work and having to sit there and think about what you need to do or where you left off, which could potentially delay you getting started or prevent you from getting started. Once you finish working, write yourself a note and say where you want to pick up the next day. Once you show up the next day and you look at that note, you don't even have to think. You don't even have to make a decision. Just read the note and just get started. Pick up where you left off. And then lastly, a fun one is to design your environment. Look at your environment, do an audit of your space and determine, is this environment actually suitable to the behaviors that I'm trying to enact in my life right now? If not, remove the barriers. If you're trying to eat healthier, but yet you have a lot of junk food surrounding your kitchen, remove all of those barriers. Make it easy for you to not eat poor food. Replace those foods with healthy foods. Make it even easier to start eating healthy food. The environment and the way you design it matters. When a habit is hard to start, you're going to feel that resistance every time, and it's just going to make your life so much harder. But when a habit is easy to start, you immediately start to feel that momentum and you feel good about that and you want to keep building on that momentum. There's a reason why people say that getting started is the hardest part, but it doesn't have to stay that way. To recap, what you need to do to master the art of getting started is to practice fighting through those inconveniences that you feel at the beginning. Stop negotiating with yourself completely. Start smaller than feels necessary and design your life so that the beginning is super easy. If you do these 4 things consistently, I promise you that something in your life will shift. You stop being someone that struggles to start and instead you become someone that just starts. And who's that person? Well, that's a person that saves time. That's a person that saves energy. That's a person who achieves their goals and they're productive. They develop confidence and trust in themselves and in their word. And overall, they grow as a person. And it's not because they're more talented or they have more motivation than other people. It's simply because they've mastered the art of getting started. I'm curious, what is one thing that you've been putting off from getting started? Drop it in the comments and I'll respond to them. As always, thank you for watching my video. If you'd like to check out another video related to habits, you can check that out here. And until then, I'll see you guys in next week's video. Bye.